Hello Stampers, and thank you so much for joining me today. This is Laura Buechler of Inky Fingers Papercrafting, your independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Nanaimo, BC. And today, as promised, I'm going to take you through my craft room and show you some of the organizational tips that I use. But before I do, I want to be super clear. My craft room is not done. And I'm not sure that I believe that there ever will be such a thing as done. I think organizing your craft supplies is just an ongoing part of this hobby, and it's one that I enjoy. And I had a customer say to me recently, "Oh, I'll send you some pictures of my craft room when it's done." Well, mine isn't done, but I'm going to show you some photos and videos of it anyway, because maybe it will be helpful to you. Let's start with the desk. You can see there's not a lot on the desk, and that's because I've recently embraced the rule that when I leave the craft room for the evening, I put everything that doesn't belong on the desk away in its tidy spot. And I think this is a really good rule because it means that the next time I come in here, there's lots of room to get started on the next project. Or if I do need to continue something that I was already working on, it's easy to pull it back out and get started again. So let me show you some of the things that are on my desk. We've got over here 3 baskets that I keep all my scraps of white, black, and vanilla cardstock in, because those are the 3 colors that I use a lot of scraps of. I've got my small but growing collection of blends in the new Stampin' Up! Storage, and a few things on the open top of the storage there. This is one of the most useful tools in my craft room. It's a list of all the DSP that I currently have with all the coordinating colors that goes with it. And this is just a spreadsheet that I created for myself and printed out, because then whatever paper I'm working with, I can really quickly see what colors I need to use with it. On the desk itself, I have a little basket full of a lot of different adhesives. I have a mug full of tools. I have this container of punched shapes. So this is something I talked about in a previous video, where every punch that I own, I punch out some cardstock with it, just so I can see what size and shape it is and have this easy access while I'm crafting. So I can quickly pull out a circle and say, oh, is that going to fit with the stamp that I'm using? No, it's not. Okay, I need the bigger one. So that's just a handy thing to keep on my desk. Of course, I have my giant basket full of blocks. And here I have a giant basket full of white cardstock that is cut to card insert size, because this is a size you're going to need for the insert of any card that isn't white. And you also might need this size for the front of your card. So I just take a couple of packs of cardstock to Staples and ask them to cut it down to this size, and then I have a couple hundred sitting here waiting to be used. Now here on this insert of the desk, I have a couple of Stampin' Chamois for cleaning, ever-present box of Kleenex for sneezing. I have my full packs of white, vanilla, and black cardstock sitting here. And down on this bottom shelf, this is just scrap paper that I put on my desk, you know, when I'm going to stamp. And this is what I use instead of grid paper in my own craft studio, just as scrap paper to print. And over here on this side, I have a little basket that's full of ribbon and embellishments, Wink of Stella, all kinds of goodies. And that's easy access for me right here. So whenever I'm creating and I need a little finishing touch, I can just pull that out. And here I have my Stampin' trimmer on this fantastic pocket that my husband repurposed from a stationery store so that it can be stored here at my desk without taking up a lot of space. Inside this cupboard here, among other things, I keep my sponge dauber collection. Now my sponge dauber collection fits in 2 boxes because I have 1 sponge dauber for every single color. And I printed myself a little guide here so that I know which one is which. And I also label them with stickers. And over, also inside that drawer, I keep these notebooks, which I'm always adding to. And these are just card layouts that I like. And once I figure out what the measurements of them are, I write them over on this page. And then when I'm stuck for ideas, I can just flip through this and figure out an idea that I like and then recreate it. Over on the side of my desk, it's actually designed with a bunch of shelves to hold paper, 12 by 12 paper. So that's pretty awesome. I keep all my designer series paper in there. And you can see that I've actually had my husband construct me additional shelves out of white foam core. You can get this at the dollar store. And so I have all my paper in there, and you can see that's the door to my craft room. Any scraps that I've cut down of that paper, any leftover bits, I put them in a little card sleeve here, a little clear sleeve, and I put them with the paper. But I used to have it like this, clipped on to the side of the paper, kind of at the top corner. And then when it was in the shelf, it would stick out and be in the way as I was walking in the door, and it would also kind of get bent as I continued to walk by. So now my genius idea is I put the clip in the middle of the paper. Can you see the clip there? So now all of those scraps are still very securely attached to the paper and can be used for another project, but they're not sticking out and getting in the way when they're on the shelf. This is the top drawer of my desk, and you can see I have all kinds of little baskets and bins of organizing things. I have my dimensionals and pop dots stored in those same clear sleeves, other adhesives, some spare blades, glue dots, post-it notes, all kinds of stuff in here, and I try to keep it fairly well organized. And I also try to keep it to the stuff that I use frequently and am going to reach for in the middle of my crafting session. And that's really the rule for the desk, is that it should only have the things that you're going to reach for in the midst of your crafting. It should only have the things that you're going to use often. You don't want to clutter it up with a lot of seldom used things, because then you're not going to have room to do the crafting that you love to do. Now moving on to my shelves. As you can see behind my desk, I have 4 full-length bookshelves, and they're full with a lot of different things. And I'm only going to take you through the ones that are really relevant today. So let's start with this shelf, which is full of my current stamp sets. Now you can see that they're kind of loosely alphabetized. And what I mean by that is, if you look over here at the B's, you'll see Beauty Abounds, Butterfly Gala, Beautiful You, Beautiful Bouquet, Band Together, Broadway Birthday, and Birch. So those all begin with B, but they're not alphabetized within the letter B. And that's enough for me just to know that if I'm looking for something that begins with B, it's going to be over here in this section. I don't need Beautiful Bouquet to be stored before Beautiful You, and etc., etc. So that's how I store my sets. And this kind of composition is the way that I can get the most stamp sets to fit on one bookshelf. So that's what I've done. And then down below, this shelf here is full of my retired stamp sets, and all the retired ones, I've got a colored sticker on them to make it clear that they are retired. And so I don't use them for classes or for anything else that I need current items for. I just use them for my own personal crafting. And these are also loosely alphabetized. And the next shelf down is my punch collection. I am a big fan of punches, and especially any punch that is just kind of a common or interesting shape, like these that are always going to be good for punching out sentiments. I've got lots of circles and labels, and some of these are retired, but I still use them for my own purposes. And the one shelf below this, I've got, currently I'm starting my Christmas crafting. So I've got all of my specific holiday related sets down here. I've got all my blingy, fancy Christmassy paper in here. This thing is full of all my Christmas embellishments. And my bin, my small bin of the Christmas cards that I'm currently working on. So that's all one shelf. You'll notice too that the things that I use the most are at the top. And then as we get down to the bottom couple of shelves, that's where I put the things that I seldom use because, you know, it's harder to get at them when they're on the bottom. So keep the things that you want across the top of your shelves and then put the less used things down towards the bottom. So for example, over on this shelf on the bottom, this is all my quote-unquote office supplies, all the things that aren't really related to crafting, although I certainly use that label maker quite a bit, as you'll see in a moment. And just keeping them all together in that one spot, and then also keeping them down on the bottom because those are not things that I'm going to reach for very often. So one thing I did when I was figuring out how to reorganize my space a couple of weeks ago is I figured out exactly which baskets would fit on these shelves to kind of use the entire space. And then I figured out what to put in those baskets. So that's why right here on the top shelf, you'll see an empty basket because it fits to maximize that space, and it's going to get filled with something eventually, but right now it has nothing in it. But you'll see that the other boxes, the ones that do have things in them, are all labeled with my handy label maker. So I know exactly what is in them. This is, by the way, if you ever enter my card sketch challenge, my weekly card sketch challenge, these are prizes that you might win. Nice little packs of DSP that's cut down to card front size. Really easy to mail and fun to use. So I have loads of that to give away to people. Over here I have cards that are ready for sale. I have a whole stash of 3D items from the 3D items class that I just held. I have kits that are ready for a kit class, and I have beautiful display samples that are often from swaps or make and takes or other the Random Act of Kindness group that I belong to. So these are great cards to display, especially showing stamps and dies that I don't have. Looking down on these shelves, you'll see a whole lot of completed cards. Now I have two boxes here that are labeled for personal use. So these are my own cards that I'm going to use myself. And I've even labeled the boxes with what categories are in there. And then if you look further, you'll see that I've got dividers in there. Thank you, demo specific, sympathy, etc., etc. So they're all organized within there so that when I want to grab something, it's easy to find, okay? And then down here, I've got my ever-present cards to finish bin. So that's cards that I've started working on and haven't finished. And I've got a couple of boxes of out-of-season cards. So you can see Mother's Day cards, Father's Day cards. Absolutely nothing wrong with them, but not much use for them currently in September. So really the key here is that I've put the right kind of boxes on each shelf to use every inch of space. And then I've labeled those boxes with what category of things are inside. And I find that once I label something, then it's much easier to stick to and much easier to remember what is supposed to go in that box. In fact, when I was cleaning out my space, I even started throwing all of this stuff that I thought, okay, I'm gonna sort that later, I'm gonna sort that later, that needs to be sorted out, I'm gonna sort it later. And I even labeled it, sort by September 3rd. As you can see, I didn't quite hit that deadline, but it has been helpful to have a box that is just things to sort, and I know I'm going to get to it. And that way I don't have kind of random little piles everywhere in my craft room. I just have one big random pile. I feel like that's helpful. I don't know, what do you think? Okay, so about a year ago, I added a second desk to my craft room, and I call this the Big Shot desk. I bet you can guess why. Now you can see over here, I have a whole pile of mugs and holders that haven't quite found their place yet. This is an example of, I'm never done, but I'm gonna show it to you anyway, warts and all, as they say. So this is the Big Shot desk, and I had my husband set me up another little pocket here to keep all my plates and extra, the embossing plate and stuff like that. It's not quite big enough to hold the magnetic base, but it holds all those other goodies and keeps them off the desk surface. And then in the drawer here, I have my die brush, I have my adhesive sheets, I have this magnetic tray that is really good for holding dies, and gosh, I've got a wireless keyboard for my iPad for when I need to use that. So again, trying to keep the things that belong with the Big Shot near the Big Shot. Another example of which is right here on the shelf. I have all the embossing folders that I use with my Big Shot. And as I was writing my notes for this video, I realized next to it, I should probably put all the dies. We'll see. We'll see if I change this around. Right now, of course, envelopes and my clear sleeves. But that's my Big Shot shelf. The embossing folders are not organized in any way. They're just very random because it's pretty quick to look through them and see which one you need. So I haven't worried too much about that. Up above the Big Shot desk are my ink pads. I keep my ink pads organized by color family, and when we did the color refresh last year, I went through and printed out these lists of all the colors, and then at a team meeting, we actually went through and stamped in every color so that we could have that, you know, kind of a color swatch sampler to refer to. That was a pretty fun activity. Since then, I have actually completed my ink collection, but I haven't actually stamped it on here. Anyway, so here are all my color families of ink pads. As I replace a certain number of ink pads with the new stackable ink pads, so I'm just gonna buy, you know, bit by bit, and then buy a beautiful unit to store them in. And I'll tell ya, of course, the In Colors were the first ones, the first color family that happened for, and as soon as I got that storage unit, I was pretty badly in love with it, because to be able to pull out one ink pad without the rest of them collapsing, which is what would happen if I pulled out this one right now. Oh gosh, that's just awfully convenient. So yes, that's the goal over the next, let's say the next year or so, is to get the majority of my ink pads stored in the beautiful handy storage instead of in these piles. But as you can see, well, you may or may not know that the old style ink pads don't really fit in the storage, so I have to get more of the new stackable ones before I can do that. Now, another thing I want to mention is what I do on the ink pads so that I know what color family they're in, which is I label them. So when I pull out a whole bunch of ink pads for my own crafting or for a class, and then I'm going to return them to their tidy spots, how do I know which family crushed curry is in? I used to have to look through the list every time and go, oh, is it, which one is it? Then I got smart and just put a label on it. R for Regals. Now I know it goes there. Brilliant. Anything that you can do to make your tidying up process easier and faster means that you're going to actually do it. So I'm all for it. Now we're almost completed our circle here. Over here is my cardstock rack, and this is on the same wall as my desk. So let's start on top of the cardstock rack where I have, this is an acrylic nail polish rack that I bought from like AliExpress or something, and it holds all of my ink refills except for the in colors. So it holds the 4 basic color collection families. And then you can see I've labeled it again, neutrals, regals, subtles, and brights. If you have a label maker, you might as well use it. Next to that, I have my light box. So this is where I take photos of my cards. And then this great big bin here is actually full of all of the stuff that I pull out and use for classes. So it's got order forms and catalogs and grid paper mats and all of that kind of stuff. So it's really handy to just grab this entire basket and haul it out to the other room where I hold my classes, and then put it all back in the basket and carry it back in here. So very handy. Very heavy, of course, because it's full with catalogs, but still. Now my color cardstock rack, what I've done is I've got all of these shelves labeled in alphabetical order. Now, I think in the future, I will move the in colors to a different spot on the rack so that it's not so difficult to swap them out when those colors retire, etc. But that's a project for down the road. But right now they are all alphabetized, and what I've done is I have a page protector in each slot, and that's what holds my scraps. So I've got full sheets here and then scraps on top, and then that again keeps everything really neat and tidy. And it's really easy to just pull out that sheet protector to see if I have a scrap that's big enough for what I'm trying to do, and if not, I can grab a full sheet. And all the shelves are labeled. It's all in alphabetical order, so it's pretty easy to find things. And then at the bottom, where there's some extra space, I have some other random bits and bobs, like more big shot platforms. I have watercolor paper. I have my business cards and other marketing materials. And here I have all my dies. And again, I've put in dividers and labeled them so that I know what's in each category. If I'm looking for something, it's easy to find. And what I do is I put them on magnetic sheets because I find that is much nicer than the paper, with the sticky tape that they come with. And then I've labeled each envelope. Well, I shouldn't say each. I haven't completed this task yet, but I'm working on it. I've labeled it with how many dies are in there so that when I'm putting them away, I know there should be 9 here, because it doesn't actually tell me that. It tells me the item number, it tells me the name, it doesn't tell me how many are in there. So I want to know if I'm missing one before I put it away. I know that some demonstrators are actually storing the dies directly inside the stamp case for the coordinating stamp set. I don't do that, but here's another trick that might be helpful. Sometimes when you're creating, especially if it's not like a direct CASE, copy and selectively edit, or case, you might end up with some extra pieces that you didn't end up using. And so what I do is, again, put them in these clear envelopes, and I put them inside the stamp case, because chances are Next time I am using these dies, I'm certainly going to be using these stamps. And then when I open it up to use the stamps, I'll see, oh, I already have a piece like this. I don't have to go and cut another one. So that's my little trick. It's kind of a bonus for future Laura when she sits down and goes, oh gosh, look at all these fantastic little shapes that are already cut. I don't have to cut those today. Hooray! So that's it. That's the tour of my craft room. There's a lot of stuff in here, and it's a pretty small space. It's not even technically a bedroom. As you can see, there's no closet, so it's just a den, but I think I've made pretty good use of the space in here, and I hope that there are some tips that will be of use to you in your own craft room organization, and I hope that you've enjoyed this walkthrough. If you have any more questions about you know, things I didn't cover in this video, please do let me know. I didn't want to bore you with too much detail, but if you see something and you want to know what it's about, or if you're thinking, oh, she didn't talk at all about where she put such and such, let me know and I'll try to answer those. Here's a close-up of my Lego shark just because it's really cute. And as always, I thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I hope you enjoyed it, and drop me a comment below and let me know what you think and if you have any questions. Remember that you can purchase all the products shown on my website, inkyfingers.ca, and you're also going to find more project tutorials, current promotional details and catalogs, the local workshop schedule, and the sign up for my monthly email newsletter. If you're watching this on YouTube, I want to let you know that I have a Facebook page under Inky Fingers Papercrafting, where you can join a weekly card sketch challenge and win a prize from me. Now you know what the prizes look like. If you do place an order today, please use the current Hostess code, which you can find on my website, and everyone who uses that code is going to get a free gift from me. And if you'd like to earn your own Hostess rewards, all you need to do is place an order of over $200 or contact me to start planning your own virtual or in-home party. Drop me a line for more details. Have a great day, everyone, and happy stamping. Bye.